Get a look back at the first of the semi-finals between Novak Djokovic and Richard Gasquet with Craig O'Shaughnessy, who's here to give us all the views of what's been taking place. So give us an overview first of all.
Well, I think the tennis world thought Novak would get through in straight sets, and that's exactly what happened. The first set was certainly very tight. I think overplaying the Gasquet backhand a little bit, but Novak took care of business. It was interesting to see the trainer out there working on his shoulder during the match, and one of the first things I looked at was serve speed to see whether that injury had any effect. For the tournament, Novak has been averaging 117 miles an hour on his first serve. He averaged 118 for the match, so that injury didn't impair the first serve at all. For the tournament, on second serves, he's been at 98 and he was at 94. So just a little bit of a drop off. A little bit of a drop off.
It wasn't actually his serving arm either, was it? It was the left shoulder.
Exactly right. And the trainer came out a couple of times and it looked like a massage was given. It might have been loose. It might have been, excuse me, too tight. It'll be interesting to see what exactly that injury was.
Yeah, Mats, give us your overall general thoughts of what you see, because it was actually a lot closer than many people expected, that first semi-final, particularly bearing in mind how he trounced him at the French Open for the loss of just 6 games, but Gasquet got out of the blocks pretty quickly.
Yes, he did. I think he was very clear on his game plan, Richard Gasquet. I mean, I thought I was watching Stan Wawrinka play there for a moment, because he would hit a lot of backhands down the line, which Gasquet he has been doing through these championships, but maybe we didn't know if he was going to keep doing that against the best player in the world, but he did. And that really, I think, got Djokovic all shook up. And I think Djokovic was not as positive going into this match. I think he knew, if I just play decent, I will win this match, consistent and decent, and I will play high percentage, not going for my first serve all the time. And I think he started going for the first serve more in the second set and the third set. But at the same time, if Gasquet wins that first set, this match could still be going, because again, it's not that easy for Djokovic to dig himself out of a tactical hole, should we call it. When you've decided this is how I'm going to play, your opponent comes out and plays a completely different game than you were ready for, and your opponent is successful. It's hard to suddenly just go, whoa, well, I'm going to change straight away. No, because I'm not ready. It takes a while to change, and by the time he would have changed, he could have been in trouble. But he still won the tiebreaker pretty convincingly, so he's rightfully through to the finals.
Okay, we're going to have a look back at the first set. So tell us what you made of what you saw in that first set. As Matt said, a lot going to the backhands. In fact, you said it as well, Craig. So just give us your thoughts here.
Well, this is a classic Djokovic point. Up and down the middle of the court, most players at a club level are going to try and open the door and use direction too early. But we see there, 3 balls down the middle, he gets a little bit of an angle and then attacks. I was just quite surprised that Gasquet didn't do that wide serve more and pull Djokovic off the court in the deuce court. And it really opens up the running backhand after that. Surprising Gasquet didn't do a bit more with that. His backhand pass is probably better than his forehand pass. He's one of the few players on tour that can really do well off that side.
Yeah, when you watch Djokovic, he has this real tendency. It's an effortless strike, isn't it, Mats? But you can actually see how he pulls opponents out wider and wider and opens up the angles on the court. And it's just such direct, straight hitting to the targets.
Yes, it is. And especially on the forehand side, he's able to pull his opponent off because the backhand side, like we saw there, doesn't have enough spin to pull anybody off the court. But the backhand is good up the middle, backhand is great down the line, and it's a good cross-court backhand, but out of all the backhands he hits, the cross-court is most probably the weakest one. Again, it's just so hard to put the ball away against Novak Djokovic. I think he's improved up at the net, I really have to say.
Yeah, he has. The numbers support that over the last year. He is coming in more than he typically has. And, just first volley behind, he's not doing anything too special. The only thing is that, we always see Novak can be a little shaky on an overhead. He's missed some on big occasions over the last several years, but he's coming forward more. He'll need to do that in the final to add the front of the court as a weapon as well as the back of the court.
That was an unfortunate miss. That was a very key moment for Gasquet early on. But then he got back in the set anyway, but in the beginning it seemed like he needed that point.
This is a very typical point with Novak prowling the baseline, Richard way back, There's that first volley behind again, and just probably a shorter angle would have been a little easier. But once again, you've got to factor the opponent in. Gasquet is so good with that backhand down the line.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, you can see 53 minutes it took for Novak to secure that first set under his belt. It was interesting seeing the court positioning of the two towards the end there. You could see a vast difference with Gasquet pushed way behind the baseline, as we expected, actually, yes. And Novak much more up on the baseline.
Yeah, it wasn't always that way. As that set developed at the start, as I was watching, I'm like, why is Novak so far back? I think he didn't have it quite as clear as it needed to be, and then around the end of that first set in the tiebreaker, he moved up and pushed Richard back.
Okay, and in terms of what else did you pick out in terms of the court positioning there, Matt?
I thought that Novak, I think the heat got to him as well. He looked a little sluggish to me. Sluggish, surprised by Richard Gasquet's tactics. Then maybe the injury, maybe that was because he got nervous, maybe he was tight, because when you are tight, you tend to not move as well. Maybe that's why he was so far behind the baseline. So I think there was a lot of not doubting if he's going to win or not, but a lot of sort of, I'm just trying to get through today because I think I'm going to win, and it's not going to be that much fun. I'm just going to put in the work that needs to be done, and with intensity, for sure, but I don't know, not that much attention to detail, I thought. He just sort of ground his way through this match, and that's why he's #1 in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a look at the second set as it unfolded, because actually Djokovic got off to a racing start. He broke pretty early in the set and really sort of set the precedent and got that momentum going, didn't he?
The workmanlike performance that you were talking about, Mats, plays out in the numbers as well. In the short rallies of 0 to 4, he had a winning edge of 17, so he did very well there. But everything after that was a wash. From 5 to 8, he was -4, and from 9 plus, he was +4. So it was only really at the start of the point that he was doing well and kind of just grinding with Gasquet from the back of the court from there on.
It's interesting how you even came up with that number for Andy Murray, how he wins less points with the longer he extends them. You would think the other way around. You would think that these guys, but I think again it goes back to, they just, once they're involved in a long point, they just don't want to miss.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're happy losing the point. But this was a worrying moment to me, that he had a sore shoulder and massaged 2 changeovers in a row he was, but obviously again, just precautions, and he got through it.
Just final few points to have a look at on this second set then, and it really felt like Novak had really started to open up the shoulders. He started to relax a little bit more. He felt much more in control of everything, and that ball sailing along there. Okay, we're going to have a very brief look at the final set then, the third set, as it were, for Novak Djokovic as he cruised through to victory. So, Craig, were there any changes in the tactics here, or it was just pretty much the same way?
It was pretty much the same. I think Novak stayed on the baseline a little bit more. He felt a little bit more comfortable with 2 sets, under his belt, and I think it was just a matter of, okay, I've got Richard where I want. The body language from Richard wasn't as strong as we saw in the opening couple of sets, and it was really just coasting to victory in that third set.
Yeah, and Mats, in terms of what you picked up on?
I think that he needs to step it up. I think that this was not a great match for him to get. I think it was good to win. It's good to be in the Wimbledon finals, but I don't know if it was too much of a confidence boost. If he plays this passive and it doesn't play, which he's not going to, but if he does, I think he's going to have a little bit of a problem against Andy Murray or Roger Federer. But again, he's just trying to get through today, and obviously sacrificing his body along the way, but he's just trying to get through this match, and he did. He won in 3 sets. Richard Gasquet played really good first, and he hung in there, Gasquet, and in many ways I think that this tournament for Richard Gasquet is a serious step forwards, and I think that he's shown the top players that he's not done. He's 29 years old. Stan Wawrinka won his Australian Open at 28, and now he's won the French Open at 30. I think no one really thought he was going to win a major 4 years ago. So Richard Gasquet has to hang in there, play this kind of tennis.
The more aggressive
More
brand
aggressive.
of
He's
tennis.
so talented, and when he does, he is so fun to watch.
He certainly is. Well, that was fantastic looking back on that first semi-final, won by Novak Djokovic. He's awaiting the winner of the second semi-final between Andy Murray and Roger Federer, of course.